All right, let's tackle challenge number 3. Okay, so in the first challenge, we turned the ship on, and in the second challenge, we figured out what the available modules array should look like, and we counted how many of them there are. So this time, we need to write a function called countEssential, and we will count how many modules are actually essential. So to solve this, okay, first let's set up our function. And so in this challenge, we have to go through each object in the array, look at it, and see if the essential is set to true. And to do this, we have two ways. One is the for loop, and the other is for each. They're both very similar, and I will show you how it's done right now. Okay, let's first write a basic for loop. Okay, in lots of examples, you'll see something like this. Okay, and then I'm just gonna say log out the I. All right. So, and that happened because I forgot to say what I should be, or where our starting point should be. So let's start at 0. Okay, so what's happening is we're saying, okay, we're going to have a loop, and we're going to start from 0. So this is what this part is about. I equals 0. Okay, and then it says, is I less than 5? Yes. If yes, then do the thing within the loop. And the thing that we're doing is saying, what is I? Print it out. So the first time it runs, it will say 0. And then it will increase the counter by 1. So I++ means add 1 to I. So when we run it the first time, it's 0, and then we add 1 to it. So the second time it runs, I will be 1. And this is 1 less than 5. If yes, it prints out 1. And so you see that it goes all the way to 4. Now, why doesn't it happen when it reaches 5? Well, it's because, as we learned in elementary school, 5 is not smaller than 5. It's equal to, but it's not smaller. So it says, okay, 5 isn't less than 5, so let's stop. So we wanted it to actually print out 5 as well. We need to add equal to, or we can simply say less than 6. That would also print out 5. Okay, so this is how we do a basic for loop. And so let's now apply it to our available modules. Okay, so first, I need to comment this out so I can put it into the console. Okay, so I'll just put it in here like that. So if we wanted to access each object in the array, we need to do this. Okay, and then this. So the reason is we access things in arrays with an index, and the index, the count starts from 0. So the first module, we get it at index 0, so we have to do available modules, bracket 0. And then for the second one, we actually use 1, not 2. So what happens if I do 2? This is undefined because it doesn't exist. Okay, so to access our available modules, we have to loop through everything. Okay, well, I need to first set my index to 0, and then we can do available modules.length, So we want to loop through until just one less than how many there are, because the index starts at 0, not 1. And then add 1 to each time you run the loop. And so I'll just show you. So now it logs out each module, okay? All right. So in the loop, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to count how many modules have the essential flag set. Okay, so since we're counting, we need to set a different variable called count. So this is to keep track of how many things we find. So it has to be separate from I, because I is keeping track of how many times we've looked at the available modules, okay? So it's like you have a line of boxes and you're counting how many of them have pots in them. You'll have your piece of paper, that's your count, right? Where you mark down each time you find a pot in your box, but you have to go through all of the boxes, right? Okay. All right, so we have to see if the available module has the essential flag. And if it's true, we mark it down. So we would do count plus equals 1. And at the end, we want to know the result. So we need to return the count here. All right, so let's see what happens when I put it in here. So if I do count essential, it gives me 2, which is right because I have 2 modules that are set to essential. And so now some people do this, and this is actually redundant, because what happens is, okay, so once the computer's looking at, okay, so it goes, okay, so for my module, what is the essential flag? And then it actually replaces this entire expression with whatever's in here. So if it's true, then it's count plus or equals 1. So if you have something that's true, it will always do this thing, right? Like, this is what your condition is. So if you have a code like this, this is always going to run because, you know, you've already defined it as true. Okay, so you don't have to say equals equals true. But if you do, I mean, it's not going to hurt your program. So yeah. All right, so now that we've seen how a for loop works, let's look at for each. So for each is basically a very similar idea, but it iterates over each item in your array. So you don't have to use the index here, or you don't have to set an index. And okay, so let me demonstrate. I'll erase that. So a for each loop looks like this. Modules.for each function module, and okay, so let's have a little demonstration again. I'll just clear this out. Oh, I have a typo. It's this. Okay, so I'm telling it log out each of the items in the available modules array. So the module is like each item here, and And so we don't need to use the index anymore. Like we don't need to do available modules I, because we're already accessing the specific modules each time it loops. So we can do, and I can actually put in any variable I want here. I can just say I, and if I say console.log I, I still have my stupid typo. Yeah, so this can be anything you name it, but it needs, like, if you want to access it within your function, you gotta use the same variable name. Okay. Okay, I better change this before I forget. And so it's the same thing. If module dot essential, then we do count plus equals 1. And then we return a count. So I'll just put in the function again here. So we can do count essential. Oh, yeah, see, I made a mistake that I told you guys not to do, which is the variable names doesn't match. Okay, so this is very good for you guys to see where mistakes can happen. So yeah, if you see count essential, it returns 2 also. So these are the 2 different ways you can use to solve challenge number 3. And one last thing is, you've seen me use a few different ways to add 1 to a number, right? So you could do I++ or count plus equals. So yeah, there are a few different ways you can add numbers in JavaScript, and they all do the same thing. It's just a matter of preference or style. So if I have a number 0, I can do num, and then my number is 1. Or I can do num plus equals 1, and now my number is 2. Or I could do write it all out in the long form, which is this. So now my number is 3. Alright, so these are just little tips and tricks that you might not realize, and I will see you in challenge 4.